cone nailer design where the snow cone actually goes through the nail, like the cone holder part, and then it's got the nice little full cone, and then coming up from it we have the syrup that's pouring over it. There is a rainbow aspect to this. It's red, yellow, orange, green, blue, but it's easier because it's not all of those colors. You just kind of gently blend them and it gets this nice little ombre effect. I love it. I hope you guys like it as much as I do, and don't forget to click subscribe to my future videos as well.
We're going to begin with an overlay of just kind of a milky white acrylic, something basic in the background, and we want a color that is just pretty much a bright white. That way when you go through and you do that rainbow drip on top of it, the colors will be incredibly vibrant. My little milky white does have a hint of glitter in it, which is up to you however you want to do it. It can be glittery or glitter-free. And then we're going to file the nail into shape with our E-file after it's been encapsulated. And now we're going to start making our snow cone. And making the cone shape for the bottom of this is by far the trickiest part of this design, I think at least. And it all happens very quickly. So if it doesn't work out the first time, it's not a whole bunch of wasted time and you can go back and try it again. So we're going to sculpt a very rounded kind of triangle shape with a round end on it, and then dip a silicone tool that's pointy into some clear acrylic powder or white acrylic powder and use that to help guide that cone shape. Again, it's not the easiest thing and it probably won't be perfect. And if it's not perfect, that's fine. Obviously, if you're looking at mine, you're like, oh yeah, that's not perfect. But you just want to kind of get that end pinched together, and you don't want a flat side, which is the tricky part because it'd be pretty easy if one side was flat. But you don't want it to be flat. You want it to be nice and rounded off on all sides. After you have it started, you've got this nice base to it. This is perfectly good. I mean, this is as good as it needs to be. It doesn't have to be flawless. You're going to take more of your white acrylic and you're going to perfect the shape any place it needs it. You're definitely going to need to add some acrylic over the seam where the two sides touch. And if there's any other places where it just doesn't look quite right or it's uneven in some way, go ahead and just add more acrylic to the entire thing. If yours needs a lot of acrylic adjustments, you might want to do one side, let it cure, and then do the other side. After you're done with it, you can go through and you can do any filing that seems like it'll be necessary. You can file the inside of it, the outside of it, round it off, straighten off the top edge, whatever needs to be done, go ahead and do that. An E-file seems to be the right thing for the inside of it, but I would use a hand file for the outside. After you're done getting it all filed, then you're going to start filling it in with your snow cone ice color. Use a white or a slightly silver glitter, and then after you have a base layer of glitter in, you're going to place a piece of wire into that wet acrylic, and then you're going to fill in around it and add the domed snow cone top. When you're picking out your glitter, you don't want it to have too much of a chunky glitter mix. You want it to be a fine, like I said, white or silver mix. If you don't have one that's perfect, the next best thing would just be to use clear acrylic. I like this little glitter element and I think it really sells the ice element, but if you don't have something that's quite right, I probably would just skip the glitter and, like I said, use clear. You don't want anything that'll distract. Add the texture to the top of the snow cone with a dotting tool dipped into clear acrylic powder. Now going back to your nail, we're going to create the hole that this snow cone is going to go through when it sits in the nail. So use your E-file and a narrow bit to very carefully carve the initial hole and then use it to gently enlarge this hole. Use your snow cone to really guide it to see exactly how big the hole in the nail should be and how angled the edge needs to be, because you kind of want to bevel the edge out so that the snow cone fits in nicely. After you have your hole exactly how you want it, wait to glue your snow cone in for just a little while. You want to put the stripes on it first, which you could do now or later. Now to make the bottle of the snow cone syrup. This part is okay. This design in general actually is a little bit more difficult than it looks, which is usually the opposite of what I say. Usually I'm like, yeah, this is so easy compared to what it looks like. This one has a couple tricky things. That cone, even though it seems like it would be a simple thing, is a little bit more trying. And then to make the snow cone, you have to make 2 cylinders of clear acrylic, or the snow cone syrup, 2 cylinders of clear acrylic around 2 different size straws, and then you have to try to fit them together. This is where it all gets a little hinky. So you're going to take some more clear acrylic and you're going to gently just sort of bring the edge of the larger cylinder in so that it becomes a smaller opening. As you're doing this, you might want to do this on one side and then place that thinner cylinder in and hold it until the acrylic seems to grab it and seems to just set up enough where you can kind of work around it. Then you're going to want to fill in that other space. The reason this is so difficult is because if your acrylic is too thick, it's going to be very difficult to blend it down to the two sides. If it's too thin, it is going to drip into the inside of this bottle and you're going to have a huge mess. So if you don't have complete control over your acrylic, it's going to just kind of be a disaster waiting to happen. So if there's something that just seems like it's too much, skip the snow cone syrup or just make it like a cup pouring and don't do this particular step. However, it does look really cool and I do think it is a good little addition to have on this design. So I would try it. I would just try it. but bear in mind that it may be a trial and error and just maybe something that is a little bit more tricky than some of my other bottle designs, and I'd probably try one of the other ones first. So I have a bunch of different pouring designs. If you look up Hotpinkzebrapolish pouring, if you search YouTube for that, you'll find a bunch of them. Otherwise, I will put some in the description box below. So we're going to take, and now after we have our bottle pretty much done, we're going to file it. There's going to be quite a bit of filing most likely needed on this design. If there isn't much filing, kudos to you and pat yourself on the back because that is incredible. We're going to file the outside. We're also going to file the inside. Notice I have not added a bottom to this bottle yet. So after we have the middle part done, there's no top, there's no bottom, we're going to add the top to this. Snow cone bottles usually have a pouring spout on them, so I'm going to do that. They're typically a color, red, blue, yellow, something of that nature. So just pick one of your snow cone colors that you're going to use in the design and make that your bottle color. It does not need to be this, the cap does not need to be the same color as what your syrup is. In fact, it shouldn't be. So if you're planning to do blue raspberry syrup, do a different color for your pouring spout, like red or yellow. If you're planning to do cherry, don't do red, do blue. You get the drift. Now we're going to paint the inside of our bottle with our snow cone syrup color. When you're doing this, you want the area towards the pouring spout to be a lot more filled in than the area towards the back. So if you want to get an idea of exactly how to paint this, grab a bottle of any liquid. It could be water, it could be milk, it could be whatever you want. And you're going to tip it and hold it at an angle, the same angle where you're going to want this bottle to be held. And you'll get the idea of how much and where to put that angle for the liquid inside. This is why we didn't put a bottom on this, is because we're filling it in first. So we're going to add all of that liquid. I'm using a blue gel polish that has just a little bit of glitter in it. And I can put the link to that color in the description box below. It's from Madame Glam. We're going to do that snow cone syrup color, and then you can add the bottom to this. Sculpt a clear acrylic circle on a nail form backing, set the bottle on top. After it's been cured, you can peel it off and add just a little bit more to that bottom to give it a bit more shape. Usually after that first round, it's so thin it almost looks like it would not hold liquid. Then you can place your snow cone syrup bottle onto the end of the wire that is in your snow cone, glue it in place, and then we can move on, and we're going to add a little lip around the edge of the snow cone. So usually these paper cones are rolled out on the edge to create some stability. So to make that look a little bit more realistic and like what the cones really do look like, you're going to want to add just a little bit, like I said, of a lip with white acrylic right around that edge. Use acrylic that's a little thinner than you might normally, and then just pull and stretch that into place. If it doesn't turn out the first time, you can always file it off and do it again, or you can file it into shape. However it works best and whatever seems like it's the necessary solution in that scenario. Switching over to acrylic paint, we're going to be adding the stripe or whatever kind of pattern you want to your snow cone. When you're doing this, there are, like I said, different patterns, different things that are optional. I think a classic just like swirl around the cone stripe is kind of the most obvious solution. However, I did see when I was looking at different ones that there were different snow cones that had the logos of the establishment that they're from, different snow cone shops, if you will, that you could replicate, especially if there's one that you frequent or that you really like. That would be the fun thing. I personally, in Wisconsin, we don't have any snow cone, just like standalone stores. So that really wasn't something that was my obvious thing. I don't even know of any that I personally have gone to, but it was something that I did see when I was doing some research for this design. We're going to add one single black outline underneath the lip of the cone, and then I'm going to apply some 3D glaze over just the snow cone, not over the ice, but over the cone. Then after that's been dried, I'm going to glue that into the hole that's in the nail. Just hold it in place. Once that glue grabs, if you want to, you probably should add a little bit of clear acrylic around the bottom to seal in the snow cone and prevent it from getting loosened. Now switching over to your syrup, you can add a pattern or a design or a label to your bottle. Again, so many different brands out there that I was completely unaware of. If you're doing a certain company where you're doing a logo on the cone, there's probably a logo for the syrup that they use, or their own logo if they have their own proprietary syrups. However, if you're like me and you're like, yeah, I'm just making a snow cone because I'm hoping for summer weather, even though every single day I look outside and it's gonna snow and I'm not happy about it, we are going to just do a pretty ombre white to blue label, rectangular label, pretty basic background. If you want to jazz up a label and you don't want to do any fancy lettering or printing on the top of it, ombre the background. That is the quickest, easiest solution. especially if you're doing acrylic paint. That actually ombres and blends together a lot easier than gel products. So if you've never tried it, give that a try, especially if ombres are a little daunting to you. After you have your background label started, the background of the label started, you can go through and you can do the wording. I would just to really send this design home in case anybody was curious about what on earth it is. I think it's pretty obvious, but you never know. We're going to actually write snow cone in big block letters on the top of this. After you have snow cone, you're probably going to want to write the flavor of the syrup that's currently being poured. If you're like me and you're a crazy person, you're going to choose blue raspberry because that is by far probably the longest syrup flavor that there is, not to mention the fact that it is 2 words. If you want to make it a little easier, do something like cherry or even strawberries. Just since it's just a single word, it's going to be a little easier than blue raspberry. But there are a lot of different flavors out there that you could pick from. Grape, I know, is also a pretty common one, but just pick one of whatever your favorite is or whatever you want to use, and then take your syrup color and paint it down the wire that's visible, and then apply that color to some of your snow cone ice. Not all of it unless you want it to just be a single flavor. Then use that same snow cone flavored syrup, and you're going to be adding a little bit of the dripping on one edge of your nail. Then add your second color, so that's going to be, for me, it's yellow. I'm going to blend the yellow into the blue to create a green section. Same thing for the drips, add a yellow drip and then blend it at the top with the blue just to kind of get a different secondary color. I'm going to be adding my third color, the red, blending that into the yellow to create an orange area. And then the same thing on the nail, I'm going to be doing my red drip and then blending that into the yellow just to create an orange section on that rainbow drip as well. After you have all of that gel painting done, we're going to need to top coat things appropriately. I'm going to be applying some gel top coat that is shiny over the top of the snow cone bottle. And then anywhere else that you applied your gel polish, which is going to be down over the wire that's got the blue snow cone syrup, and then over the top of the snow cone, the ice of the snow cone, and then on the drips on the background of the nail. As you're doing this, you may want to switch over to a small brush when you're applying the top coat over the ice and over the drips in the background. Just makes it a little easier, especially over those drips. If you don't want to, obviously you can kind of carefully do it like I did, or apply the top coat over the entire background of the nail. But if you just wanted the drips, I would switch over to a small brush. Otherwise, this nail design is done. It is so cute, and it embodies summer with the bright colors and the little bit of glitter and rainbow and stripes and everything. I love it so much. I wish we actually had a snow cone establishment around here. I think people would frequent it even in the winter. Wisconsinites are weird. But I hope you guys love it, and I will see you all next time. Bye!